Hello everyone, this is Arif and today we are here with another video of CIA Part 1, Unit 4, Advisory Services. This is a brief profile overview of my professional career and academic qualification. Just in case if you're interested, you can pause the video and read it. And you may also, if you wish, you could connect me via LinkedIn as well. In this overview of the CIA Part 1 overall journey, I'm trying to depict what we have covered so far and where we are. If you look at from in terms of the whole syllabus of CIA Part 1, so far we have covered the foundation of internal audit. We have covered 2 units on assurance services, and today we will be covering another unit on advisory services. As a whole, we would have covered by the end of this video around 35% of the syllabus. This is an overview of the entire CIA unit part 1 and all the units. So far we have covered from unit 1 till 3. Unit 1 was the foundation of internal audit. Unit 2 and 3 was about assurance services, and today we will be discussing about advisory services. In today's unit you can approximately expect 5 to 7 MCQs that might appear in the exam, and it might cover around 5% of the overall syllabus. This is just an estimation, it might be a bit more or less, but this is just for your understanding how the syllabus has been um, is being divided into different units in terms of their importance and coverage. In the first unit, what we have covered is basically we have covered the foundation of internal audit. What is the definition and purpose of internal audit? We have also discussed about the internal audit charter, which is a document which defines the role and responsibility of internal audit. We have also covered independence of internal audit, which is one of the most important element, and what are the implication or what are the threats to an independence of internal audit and how to overcome. uh, the last topic in unit 1 which we have covered is the role of internal audit and risk management. Now coming to unit 2, assurance services. In unit 2 there are 2 main topics that we have covered. The first one was about control self-assessment, and the second one was about different types of audit engagement that we perform. Some of them which we have covered in unit 2 are third party and contracting auditing, quality auditing, security and privacy auditing, and performance auditing. Whereas in unit 3, which was continuation of unit 2, we have covered operational audit engagement, compliance, financial, organizational, cultural, and management report reviews. So these were the key topics that we have covered. And with today's unit, we will be approximately reaching 35% of the entire syllabus, and around 40 plus MCQs you can expect around from these topics to appear in the final examination. Now we will look at our today's topic or unit 4, advisory services. If you break down the entire syllabus, you can break down into different section, but just to give you an overview, we will be discussing about different types of advisory services. We will be also discussing about the role of internal audit in advisory services in terms of their independence, objectivity, professional care, scope of work, communication, and results. So how we can carry out our advisory services in more effective way. We will be also going into a little bit more in depth in terms of types of benchmarking that we can perform as an internal auditor, part of advisory services. And there are certain other types of advisory services that we can perform. For example, risk awareness and control training, business process mapping, due diligences, system development review, and evaluating performance management system. So let's start with our first topic, advisory services and overview and value addition as a result of the performance of the advisory services. If you remember in the first unit discussion, we have discussed about the purpose of internal audit, where we have gone through the internal audit definition. So if you look a bit more deeper, and if we can go through again with the same overview of the definition is, internal audit is an independent, objective assurance and advisory services. So basically, internal audit perform mainly categorically two types of activities, either assurance activities or advisory services. Assurance services, in the previous units, we have already covered what are the different types of engagement that internal audit can perform. However, in terms of advisory services, that we will cover in our today's video. What is advisory services? It's like being as an internal auditor, we give an advice, or we provide consultation to the management for resolving some of the risk related matters. Um, However, while giving advice or consultation, we do not assume the management responsibility. Given the limited scope and the objective of the scope, we let management clearly know that the ultimate responsibility for to accept, to not accept, to improvise those advices is all depend on management. So tomorrow when we come as an internal auditor, they do not say that they have implemented our advices. So any weaknesses that has been encountered in those activities is basically already proposed by the internal auditor. So it's the internal auditor mistake that they have not highlighted such weaknesses or gaps in the processes ahead of time. Therefore, it is very much important in all the advisory services we clearly mandate to the management that the ultimate responsibility belongs to you. However, we are just trying to help you, to support you in based on our own competence and based on our previous knowledge of internal audit, to help you in improving the control environment in certain areas of the business. Um, so advisory services are basically non-assurance, and these are consultative activities which helps the organization either to improve operation or help them to make a decision. As we have already mentioned, the ultimate responsibility remains with the management. Um, the engagement in itself start when the management raise a concern or seek out our services. It could be through the management, it could be through the board, but someone has initiated to request us that they need our services for advisory services or consulting services. Unlike the audit engagement, where we carry out risk assessment, we identify the key risk area, and then we propose to the audit committee or the board to approve, and then we carry out engagement. However, opposite to that, here in the advisory engagements, the management or the board request us certain kind of activities. We add value, be it assurance services or be it through advisory services. Since our today's topic is about advisory services, so how we add value? We add value by offering, first of all, risk-based engagements, means where we can identify what are the key risks and what are the control gaps through different advisory services. We are also providing an independent uh, advice or insight, while not assuming the responsibility. We might also help them to foresee future risk in the activities and to safeguard themselves against the future risk. And through all these activities, we support the management. I would give you my own personal experiences of advisory services. So I was one time working in a telecom company, and the management has requested that if we can um, carry out a process review, not as an auditor but as an advisor of international roaming fraud, which means that whenever there were certain kind of activities that was happening within the company. For example, if someone make international call, they were still being charged local on a local rates. So we have performed those activities and we identified certain control deficiencies within the system, that due to those technical issues, the customers were not charged despite they were calling on international numbers, or calling in, or they were on a roaming with international rates. So this kind of activity the management might request you. Another example was the management was intending to establish the ERM department, risk management department, and they wanted me to review their policies and procedures to identify if it is aligned with the best practice or not. So there could be a lot of different types of due diligences, financial reviews that can be requested by the internal auditor to perform. For example, cost analysis. The one time the audit committee requested me to to review the all the operating costs and see the legitimacy of those costs as an independent advisor. So there could be different types of engagement that the management or the board may request internal auditor to carry out part of the advisory services, and we might have to perform in order to add value to the organization. There could be different types of advisory services that internal audit can perform, but these could be in different situations. For example, it could be a formal request by the management or by the board with a proper defined role and responsibility that what we are requested to perform. For example, and the one which I have given you earlier example, that when we were assigned to review the internal controls on international um, roaming fraud or international calling fraud, just in case if for example, if for instance a customer make an international call and they are not being charged on international rates, if that happen, or if there is, or just to assess whether the system might, or is there a possibility that the system might not charge the customer in the correct way. So these could be a formal engagement. Informal could be where internal audit sits in different forums, management discussions, steering committees, and just as an observer and guide them if internal auditor find any control issues in during those engagements. Special could be where internal audit is being requested to review the controls in the ERP implementation of finance module, for instance. So this could be a special one of activity. Another type or another situation where internal audit can be requested for an advisory services could be an emergency. For example, a company might encounter a disaster, and let's presume that the company doesn't have a BCP DRP plan, business continuity and disaster recovery. So in those cases, the internal auditor can help the management to come out of those situations by helping them identifying the gaps in those disaster situations and help them coordinate the activities without obviously assuming the activities. So this could be in emergency cases. um, Another type would be educational one, where we guide the management about the internal controls, fraud indicators. We might even help the finance team on internal controls, on financial reporting. So these kind of educational activities we might also perform. And the last one is facilitative, where we help management as per their request in certain kind of reviews. Overall, these could be different situations where internal audit might be requested to carry out or to serve and advisory services for the management. There are certain principles that we need to keep in mind, that we have to follow the IIS standards, whether it's assurance services or advisory services. We have to maintain our internal audit independence. Just because we are performing advisory services doesn't mean that we will hide significant issues or findings if we come across during the engagement. We have to communicate clearly to the management or to the leadership within the company to overcome those gaps. Lastly, by virtue of advisory services, sometimes we are in a good position to identify certain weak areas where we can later on perform assurance services, or we can request at the same time if we found any fraud indicator, for instances, request the audit committee that to perform investigations there, or any other blended assurance engagement. Or we can perform assurance along with the consultative with the clear scopes, segregating both the engagements and with the different teams. So it could be a standalone, it could be blended approach, but overall, these are certain um, safeguards that we have to take while performing the advisory services. We, as an internal auditor, have to take certain safeguard whenever we are trying to, or whenever we are intending to accept any consulting engagement from the management. We have to ensure that our independence and objective is not impaired or compromised by telling them that we will not take any management responsibility. We will recommend them, but whether to accept that recommendation or to reject that recommendation is absolutely management call. We have to ensure that we have the required skill set, competence, resources available to carry out that engagement. If we believe that we are not competent or we do not have the required resources, then we shouldn't be accepting that engagement. The scope of work in that consulting engagement should be a very logical one, where it should have a proper refined scope in terms of what is supposed to be done or what is the objective of the engagement, and that needs to be monitored throughout the engagement. That whether are we on the track, we are have we achieved the objectives or not. The results needs to be communicated formally. Documentation is very much important. All the documents or working papers that we have developed or carry out needs to be properly preserved, because we take it our consulting engagement same as our audit engagement, very in a very formal way. And eventually, if there was any action plan or certain action that the management is agreed to take and implement certain controls, so we can carry out tests in order to ensure whether these actions has been taken into account or not, and the controls are being implemented or not. So that monitoring we can also perform either periodically or maybe at a specific point of time, where we can test and report on the corrective measures and the status of the corrective measures to the senior management and to the audit committee. There are different types of consulting engagement that we can perform. We can have a benchmarking exercise where we can look the department or services of the company from different angle. We can carry out competitive benchmarking where we compare our company services or a company, let's say HR department, with a competitive HR department, or a certain aspect of the company, let's say ERP implementation with a competitor ERP implementation. Such kind of benchmarking we can perform as an auditor. We can carry out a process or functional related benchmarking where we compare departments. Strategic benchmarking where we look at our strategic goals and how the our competitors or are intending to move in terms of strategic matters. Internal and generic. Internally will be where we compare one department with the other department, though their function might be completely different, but the way they have organized, the way they have deployed systems, the way they have developed the policies and procedures, so we can do internal benchmarking in terms of good quality assurance exercise. We can have a generic benchmarking where we compare, not to be very specific with any competitor or department, but we just compare generically certain aspect of one department with the other one. So this is how we can do different through different um, perspective, the benchmarking exercise. Other type of consulting engagement could be internal control training. We can provide due diligence to the company, due diligence auditing. Um, I have done that. So I was working in a private equity firm where there were whenever the company intend to go for any acquisition or purchasing or buying a company or having a venture with the company, they carry out legal, financial, and technical due diligence. So I have audited all that area, whether um, the investment, before the investment, the management has carried out that investment due diligences, and they have reported properly or not to the investment committee, and the board has approved accordingly or not, and the results of those due diligence has been incorporated, or the recommendation has been incorporated during the investment process or not. So this is the area where internal audit can play their part. Business process mapping. This is again I have performed, where we have mapped the business processes for a company for which I was not responsible for audit activities, so there was no issue of impairment. System development reviews, again, that we can perform. I have reviewed the finance system, ERP system deployment, and have to look at from the SLA and the best practices, whether we have deployed the system within the time frame, the cost benefit is being evaluated, the procurement process of or onboarding of a third party for implementation of that system, the migration of data, the controls, everything. So that we can perform. Design of a performance management system. So this is we can do that, how the company measure the performance, be it product, be it employees, be it of any services, so that we can also perform. So there could be a multiple types of engagement, consulting engagement, but all you need to know is to know your boundaries, that you should refrain from having any engagement which may lead to taking you a management responsibility, because eventually it will lead to objectivity and independence issue. Also, you have to ensure that you have the required skill set and resources whenever you are carrying out the consulting engagement. The depth, the width uh, of the scope area needs to be taken into account in terms of consulting engagement. The best part of the consulting engagement, which I like, that it reflects our soft image within the company, and the company people start becoming more open to internal audit. And I have seen from my experience that whenever internal auditor carry out an consulting engagement, there are more departments within the company who reach out to internal audit. Sometimes they even reach out for audit activities. They say, we heard a lot of good things about internal audit, and the other department has benefited from your services. So I would like to know that if you carry out maybe an advisory or maybe an audit engagement of certain area of our business, and to ensure or to give me the perspective. Generally, the head of the department, they come up that what's going on there, because the companies are very huge, and sometimes the head of the department are managing tens or hundreds of people, so they do not have the insight on certain areas, so sometimes they reach out to internal audit. So this is a great avenue, and this is one of the key responsibility, or the aspect of the work of internal audit. So we have to take into account um, from both from the academic perspective, from the literature and concepts, and from the practical perspective, how to apply that concept into our day-to-day audit activities. So here we are at the end of Unit 4 of CIA Part 1, Advisory Services. In this video, we have covered the value of the advisory services, provided by the internal auditor, the different situation in which the advisory services is being requested from the internal auditor, and different types of advisory services, be it benchmarking or due diligences or system implementation reviews. So these are different types of engagement that is being requested. In the previous units, we have covered in Unit 1 the foundation of internal audit. Unit 2 and Unit 3 was about the assurance services, and Unit 4 is about advisory services. One more thing which I would like to highlight, just in case if you find a bit obvious in the video, that certain slides are recorded at different time periods. So you might see my face or my even clothing is different in those slides than others. So I have not recorded all the video at one time. So you might find that variation, and just to be more efficient and utilize my time, sometimes I do that. So I had it pre-recorded 2 slides, which I incorporated part of the entire discussion, but I have made sure that it is part in the relevance of those slides and the content is as per the syllabus. So just a disclaimer. And apart from that, thank you for watching. And just in case if you believe the other people might also benefit from these videos, so you can share it with the other people as well. And please do not forget to remember me and my family um, in your prayers. And I wish you also good luck in your CIA journey. Hope to see you in the next video.